Happy Sunday to you. Jim Laird joining you live from Dirioma, Nicaragua. Hope you're doing well. Let me get going on Instagram here. Let's jump right into the topic and get her going. Basically, I'm just going to outline a massive issue that we have today, and then we're going to give some practical, simple solutions to it. The big issue is it really is crazy the amount of information and um, if you look at like Instagram or YouTube, it's just become like a plethora of advanced training tactics, all sorts of crazy stuff that it's almost like a circus act. It's become a how do I get views contest, which I totally get and I totally understand. I mean, people want to watch exceptional things. The problem is that the normal everyday person is in horrendous shape. I think 70% of the United States now is considered obese. And the big problem is as your ability to move well goes down, what your body has to do to survive, it has to work extremely hard um, to survive. Movement is so critical for our health and well-being, that a lot of people look at these fit people that a lot of the fit people, some of my main clients have been people that are like look fit, but are actually pretty broken. So just because you look a certain way doesn't necessarily mean you're fit. That's another part of the problem. But people are looking at these people on Instagram and saying, is that what I have to do to like, they're so far gone that they just basically give up essentially. Right. And they're like, I'm just going to continue to be where I'm at. There's not a Most people don't need anything that's that fancy. If you have somebody that can't squat well, you sit them in a chair and you have them hold on to onto something and you have them get up and sit down the best you can. You have them get on the floor, you have them do knee hugs and knee circles and all these basic things that are at their level. And then, once they get better at that, then you add something else on. I just think a lot of people, particularly as we move less day to day, and particularly with kids, kids don't move outside at all anymore. They don't play anymore. So the movement library is non-existent. There is literally a non-existent movement library in people's brains now, the younger generation. So really what needs to happen is one, people need to live a more outdoor life, a more active life. They need to get outside and they need to move more every day, just generally speaking. And two, we need to go back and almost build physical literacy from the beginning, right? We need to focus on teaching people, how to do really basic things, like almost like physical education class, because you really need to have that base foundation of movement. And the good news is it doesn't take much, but programs need to be, even professional athletes, like I've worked with a lot of professional athletes or high level athletes. Most of the highly successful people, their training is not that fancy. It's a lot of it. If you look at, I can't remember the name of the person. What's his name? Let me look him up here on Instagram. But he shares a lot. He's a speed coach, and I'm always sharing his stuff because it's always really good. And he shares a lot of these athletes training programs, and it's nothing spectacular, right? Because a lot of people just need the basic fundamental things. Where is he? Of course, he's always on my feed, and I can't, now that I want to find him, I can't find him. There he is, Fred Duncan. Fred Duncan, Fred lower, whatever the lower dash is, Duncan. He's a great speed coach. Love the stuff he puts out. But you go look at the workouts of some of these athletes. They're nothing spectacular, right? Most people do not need anything fancy or ridiculously advanced. Most people are beginners, beyond beginners, especially today. So Oh, and it doesn't sell, like, sexy doesn't sell, like, people wanna watch exciting, they wanna watch high level performers, all that stuff, I get it. But in order for most people to get better, they're gonna have to start where they are, and most people are having problems walking, right? They're having problems with basic fundamental things, getting up and down out of a chair. That's how bad it's gotten. And so when they go to a gym and they get thrown into a program that's so far above their pay grade, their body can't adapt in a positive way. So the way we combat this is by little simple habits. If you're in a bad place, you just do what you can do. If you have a hard time getting up and down on your out of your chair, get in a chair that you can get up and down out of, and find a way to hold on to something and get up and down. Get on the floor, do some knee hugs. I want to start filming more content. I have started filming more content for both my men's and women's groups. It's hard here in Nicaragua, but I can definitely film a lot of stuff here on my patio. It's hard uploading it, and then it's also hard to find an actual gym to film stuff at. But the truth is, most people don't need an actual gym in the beginning because they're just in such a bad place. So there's a serious problem because the level of the preparedness of the client is going here, and the training is going here, and something's going to have to happen, right? Something's going to have to happen, and the smart coaches bring the level of training down to meet the client where they're at. And then as time goes on, they up the ante and they progress the client. And it works really, really well. You can get some really quick results. It's not very fancy. Most people just are not patient enough to stick with the process. That's really the big thing is can you get people to come in and do what they need to do over a prolonged period of time? So if you're in a bad place, if you're one of the people I'm talking about where you're not in a good place, start simple. Start with what you can do and just go from there. And find somebody to help you if you can. I'm going to try and post more content. I've got some stuff if you look at like movement circuits and things like that. But a lot of times some of the movement circuits that I like, grabbing your knees and rocking back and forth, that might not be appropriate for some people. You might need to start with your feet on the wall and doing a dead bug with your arms. You might need to start with your feet on the wall and just lift your feet off the wall and keeping your low back in the ground. You might need to start with knee circles, real simple stuff on the ground, crawling on the ground on all fours. That's really helpful. So that's the hard part. Is it's really hard to give general advice to people. And I can't remember who it was the other day. I think it was Dr. Mike Israetel. And Mike was talking about, he coached some volleyball players and they were such good athletes. They instantly RDL better than he did. And the problem is most people are not very athletic and they don't move well. So how do you get those people? And most of the stuff that's on Instagram, all of the videos that people are posting, require a lot of athleticism. So how do you take someone that is not in a good place, that doesn't have good athleticism, that doesn't move well, and how do you get them into a better place? It takes patience, and it takes regressing people to the level that they're at. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the next few years with social media, with exercise programs in general. Can we undo a lack of physical activity growing up as a child and the lack of play? I don't know. It's a good question. So hopefully I'm not being too negative today, but I just kind of want to discuss that, what I see going on. And, but, I'd love to help you join one of my groups, join either my men's group, my women's group. Love to see you there. Of course, the show is sponsored by Pharaoh, which is a skin product that I really like. You can go to pharaoh.shop. If you use discount code GYM15, you'll get 15% discount. So there are my thoughts for today. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. But the bottom line is you got to lower the level of your training to where you're at if you want to get better. So start where you are. It might not be a great place, but sometimes you got to basically start where you are. And most people are not doing that today. They're watching fancy videos and they're looking at all sorts of fancy stuff. And we're leaving a whole bunch of people behind because I think they just look at all this stuff online and go, well, if that's what I got to do to be healthy, there's no way. And honestly, for most people, if they just got to the point where, they got outside 3 times a day, morning, noon, evening, they, walking, and if they can't walk or riding a recumbent bike or something, get outside a couple times a day, do some sort of activity, even if it's a recumbent bicycle, whatever you can do, you do. You eat a protein at every meal, get the lights off at night, you drink high quality water, you try to have some sort of social life. You start with that. Most people would be shocked at what a difference it would make if they did it consistently. And then it's a matter of finding the right amount of exercise for them to basically be as functional as they want to be. That's the one thing you realize as a coach really quickly, is that not everybody wants to be or needs to be a high level performer. A lot of people are just happy if they can, if you're working with a golfer that's older and he can barely, get down low enough to pick the golf ball out of the cup, you get him to like get down and pick the golf ball out of the cup. He's pretty happy about that. And that's like, his number one goal. He's not trying to be like, being able to like do high box jumps and 10 pull-ups and all that stuff. He's just worried about picking that golf ball up out of the hole without falling over on his head. So a lot of times, what we have to do with a client is not necessarily lined up with what we'd want as a strength coach, right? So that's all there is for today. There's a few random thoughts for you. I hope you're having a good weekend. I hope you're enjoying your Sunday, and we will see you again tomorrow at the same time.